This is the Aftermarket Radio Network. Hey, Carm here, and welcome to the 607th episode of Remarkable Results Radio. Now, here's another great example of brainstorming that creates an education opportunity for you. Brainstorming is part of our core here at the podcast. Our purpose or why is strong and pointed. Simply, it states to help raise all ships. Hey, thanks for always tuning in and listening to the Aftermarket's original premier podcast. Carm Capriato here, the Aftermarket podcast guy. Chris Cottonhas here, and he once again shares his experienced thoughts on shop ownership. Chris warns that buying your first shop and or getting into business as a new repair shop or even growing a new branch is not a cakewalk. Just because you know stuff about cars and love working on them doesn't make it easy. You don't treat it like a hobby, you treat it like a business. Strong words of wisdom from Chris, warning those who venture into shop ownership, you've got to have strong financial goals to reach. You need to have a lot of brainstorming or planning sessions to come out successfully. You will not be an overnight success. I've got for you here a fun and fast-paced episode and very important homework for you. You can find Chris Cotton's other episodes and the key talking points. They reside at remarkableresults.biz/E607. If you need more information, reach out to me, Carm at remarkableresults.biz. Hey, as always, so thankful to the sponsors that make the Aftermarket's premier podcast available to you. You know, the Napa Auto Care Gold Certification Program? Well, it offers a premier tier for members to provide consumers with a consistent experience anywhere in the country. Gold certified members earn benefits like preferred referrals, $1,500 in marketing funds, tracks free, and more. To learn about gold certification, speak to your Napa representative today. Hey, our fun-paced show, Aftermarket Weekly, is where we feature the wisdom from a guest host and the industry's first ever weekly virtual shop tour. Guess what? It's now a podcast. Find it on your favorite podcast listening app. Search for Aftermarket Weekly and subscribe. Hey, a warm welcome to Chris Cotton. How many times you been on the show now?
I don't know. I guess I should notch it somewhere on some wood or something. I'm going to say 4 or 5 times, but I don't know. I mean, this has been, for two people that have never connected before, this last year's been crazy. And I think we went into 2019 a little bit when we got started.
I like what you're doing. You've brought some great contributions to the show. And I think every time you come on, like today, we're going to talk about brainstorming shop ownership. It's more critical than ever. Opportunities are huge to get into business. And there's an awful lot of people that say, hey, I can run a shop.
Yeah, we got people crawling out of the woodwork now. It's kind of funny. Fortunately, we're in a position where people call us and they're like, hey, I'm thinking about buying a shop. And I'm like, oh, that's great. We can definitely help you with that. And then we get into the story and they're like, oh, well, I've never owned a shop before. I had a guy that had, it's kind of random. It could be a florist. It could be somebody that builds neon signs. We've had somebody recently that is a real estate investor and they want to buy and create a shop so they can get rent off the business. We have all these people that have been in the industry for 30, 40 years that are getting out and all kinds of people trying to get in.
And if their money is green, they're going to take it and get out. But a lot of them care about, how well their customers are going to be taken care of, especially, when they transit the business to somebody new. But I remember you saying to me, Carm, it's kind of like, getting a puppy. You go and you fall in love with a puppy. Oh, this can't be hard. And then all of a sudden the puppy doesn't do the things you expect it to do.
Yeah, right. The puppy's really hard to train. So what we're finding is we're finding people that, they did a little bit of research on the internet, but really not enough. And that's the same thing for the puppy. Oh, this puppy's cute. I looked at the picture. I read the paragraph, but I didn't go into the other 18 pages of what makes this breed work or anything else. And so what happens is somebody buys the puppy, right? It's a cute, cuddly little puppy. They've got it for 6 months. And after the 6 months, they're like, oh, I'll give this puppy to anybody. I don't care who it is. Just take the puppy. I can't take it anymore.
Wait a minute. You mean there was no money back guarantee on the puppy?
Yeah, no money back guarantee on the puppy. If you can't train it and make it do the things that you want it to do, it's just laying there an untrainable, slobbery mess that goes to the bathroom in the house.
And it depends on how much time you want to give it or it depends on how much time you feel it should take to be the kind of puppy you wanted to have. And this whole analogy is about business. I want to jump in. I don't want the listener to be on the edge. Says, hey, listen, I tuned in to hear about, becoming a shop owner and brainstorming ideas, things that you need to consider that cost money that maybe you never thought cost money.
Exactly. A lot of shop owners or new people to the business, they're just going to jump in and be like, oh, I bought the business now. Now it's just going to start generating cash and returning to me, which is way, way off the base. So when you and I talked, we were like brainstorming or thinking about this. And I was like, yeah, there's a lot that goes into a repair business that you have to have cash flow for to even start or put into it. So yeah, absolutely.
Marketing is a great example. A website. What do you mean I need one of those?
Well, of course, we got to have a way for people to come to us and find us, right? When I first started in the industry, I was spending about $2,600 a month, believe it or not, on phone books, and nobody looks at a phone book anymore. I couldn't even tell you the last time I even saw a phone book. Everybody has their smartphone out. Everybody is at home on their tablets. They do a Google search for auto repair near me, and if you don't have a really good website that pops up and shows and cuts to the chase, then you're not going to pull up and rank. It also goes into AdWords and things like that. It's not just enough to have a website. You could get away with that 10, 12 years ago. Now you have to have a good website with SEO content and ranking and things like that. And it's kind of like buying a $20 tattoo or a $2,000 tattoo. Sure, you can get the $20 tattoo, but it's not going to look, work, and perform like the $2,000 tattoo.
I love that analogy. That is just a super analogy. I've never had a tattoo, but you see some gorgeous ones out there, and you say to yourself, man, that's beautiful. And how come I've seen such ugly ones? And I guess it's either the Walmart or the Nordstrom's tattoo, huh?
Yeah, or maybe it's the prison tattoo and then the other one. You never know. So it can go several different ways with that.
What % of my sales should I spend in marketing?
You know, that's a great question. We get some people, well-established companies, and if you're buying one of these, then that's great. That is on the lower end. But I say a good rule of thumb is 3 to 5%. So also, if you're looking for your budget and you want to have $1 million shop for next year, you want to spend $30,000 to $50,000 in advertising for the year. And so that includes website, that includes Facebook ads, that includes your AdWords campaign, any CRM that you're doing, like My Shop Manager, things like that.
What about direct mail?
That also includes direct mail. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of direct mail just because the acquisition cost for a direct mail customer is extremely high versus the Facebook customer and the AdWords customer. So we can run those two campaigns and get a quicker return. You just have to make sure, again, that you have somebody that knows what they're doing. That's not boosting ads on Facebook or anything else. That's like having somebody that goes on the backside in your Facebook business suite, create the ad, add the pixel, and everything like that.
I got to spend money on Facebook. Oh, my God. And then I got to have a point of sale system. I have to worry about software upgrades and labor guides and DVI programs. It's bare essentials today.
Absolutely. Yeah, you really have to have that. And now we've gone into, with the recent state of the world and everything, we're getting into contactless type things. You mentioned the DVI. Now we have text to pay. And depending on how you're contacting your customers, we're doing pickup and drop off. Do we have an app on the phone that we schedule that in? There's a lot that goes into advertising and marketing.
It's amazing how today, Chris, we can't actually run or survive a great shop without all those tools we just mentioned.
We got a new client recently that came to us and they were doing zero advertising. And by zero, I mean no Facebook ads, no AdWords. The website was okay, but they weren't even coming up in the first 6-7 pages. I recently did a shop visit for them. I was in their parking lot, did auto repair near me, and they didn't even pull up. And it should have at least picked me up out of their parking lot, and it still didn't rank.
That brings me up to a thought. As a coach, have you visited all of your clients?
I haven't visited all of them, but luckily, the way we've structured our life and everything, I get to visit quite a few. The family and I, we're in Texas right now, so we have quite a few Texas clients. So I'm kind of midway outside of Austin, so I'm able to go south, north, as long as it's not in El Paso and it takes me 4 days to get there.
Hey, Carm here, and coming up, Chris explains how the business needs to work for you and not the other way around. Hey, it's Carm here, talking to you about what the Napa Auto Care Center program can do for your business. Now, you probably already know the Napa brand is the most recognized and trusted name in the automotive aftermarket industry. In fact, studies show that 95% of consumers recognize Napa and associate it with quality parts, service, and technical expertise. So why not complete a Pro Image upgrade and take advantage of that? Pro Image is a co-branding program for the exterior and interior of your shop. On the outside, it includes the Napa colors and distinctive Napa signage. While the public may know you as a reliable, locally owned business, a Pro Image upgrade helps set your shop apart from the competition even further. It's also a visual signal to customers and potential customers that you and Napa are partners. Most importantly, Pro Image really works. This co-branding opportunity has helped Napa Auto Care centers across the country increase their car counts and sales. In fact, those that have completed a Pro Image project enjoy an average 23% sales increase during the first year. Pro Image upgrades are also available for the interior of your shop. A Pro Image interior upgrade transforms your customer waiting area from merely utilitarian to warm and welcoming. The goal is to maintain your shop's independent identity while enhancing the customer's experience. You can get a free look at what a Pro Image exterior and interior upgrade could look like by visiting the Napa Auto Care members site and clicking on the Napa Pro Image link under the Napa Pro Image tab. Or contact your local Napa Auto Parts store. Your servicing Napa store can tell you more about Pro Image, plus the hundreds of other reasons to become part of the Napa Auto Care family, the largest network of independent automotive repair shops in the country. Okay, I'm running this business. I'm turning my hobby, into a business. Love cars, love fixing cars. I want to start a shop. I want to buy a company. I've saved some money. I've got a 401k that I may tap into. I can get mom and dad loans, the M&D loans, get this money doing things. And I got to have a payroll service. I have to have accounting. And people are telling me that don't do this without hiring a business coach because you don't know what you don't know. Oh my God, just pile all these costs right on.
Exactly. But, that's why we go through when we're evaluating a business, we evaluate it for its strengths and weaknesses, what to pay for it. But we also go through and say, here's a budget. If you can't, if you're doing a loan or whatever for this and you can't do these things, then you are not ready for the business just yet.
Your point is so well taken. Let's stop and think of what Chris just said. Evaluate the business. So I would imagine that every coach in our industry, consultant in our industry, would be more than willing to help someone not dive into the deep end of the pool and stop breathing because they drowned themselves. So you're saying, hey, let's help you do an evaluation of the business, and whatever the debt service is, you got to pay for it. Whatever the costs of really running the right kind of business that you'll slowly increase, you've got to be able to pay for it. You've got to have the right margin, the right sales level so that you can have a profit, so you can sustain your business and still be able to pay for everything. You see, when you take on a new client, that this was never done right to start with?
Absolutely. A lot of it was never done at all. If somebody comes to us and wants a business evaluation, if they want to continue as a client, that's great. But if they just want help to say yes or no, this is a good idea or not, any of us in the industry are more than willing to help, I'm sure. And then also, as a former shop owner, there are a lot of lessons I learned that I can share with everybody else. One of my biggest ones was accounts receivable. My shop, we had 2 24-hour truck services, and we sold a lot of tires to farmers, commercial trucking companies, and things like that. We talked about the accounts receivable, and, I bought them, but at the time there was some of it that was like 60, 90, 120 days past due. All that's dead money. If it's over 30 days, it's dead. And I didn't know that. And there was something that we could have done to structure it to be like, okay, you need to write off all this debt before I buy it. That way I'm not assuming part of it. Because one of the things that we did, not to go too deep into it, is we made the accounts receivable and the accounts payable match. Because the accounts payable was more than the accounts receivable, he actually cut me a check for the difference. But had I gone in and had them wipe out $80,000 in bad receipts, then that check would have been bigger. But anyway, long story short, about a year and a half later, they changed the bankruptcy rules in the country. And I got about 36, I think, bankruptcy letters in one day. It was a stack like this, and the mail ladies, had them all enveloped together. And it was all these people that were filing for bankruptcy. And I called my attorney, and the attorney's like, look, you'll never see any of that. You might as well just write it all off the books and go on. And So that's, what we did.
You mentioned the word fleet, and too many fleets and or farmers say, hey, put it on my account, put it on my account, put it on my account. And 120 days later, you've had to pay for all that. If you wanted to keep a great relationship with a vendor, you had to pay for that stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. All that was paid for way, way ahead of time.
You end up becoming super cash poor. You just can't hold paper today. Take the credit card. The businesses have credit cards. Why aren't they paying you with a credit card? So, yeah, that's an unfortunate thing that ends up happening. Let's jump back here into, what do you mean I've got to have scan tools, shop equipment, an alignment rack, and tire machines to do all these fancy new wheels that are on these cars? How many figure investment is that?
A lot of it depends on how good the equipment you're buying is, right? So one of the things when we do a business evaluation is we look at the age of the equipment. What's it going to cost to get it running in tip-top shape? Your lifts should be inspected every year. If they're not inspected, if your lifts are 8 to 10 years old, they're probably worth zero. So, when you're looking at that, you have to go in there. And then we also have to figure okay, if we don't put any money in the equipment, what's going to break in this first year, and what do we have to set aside for that?
And what about upgrades? You buy a business and there's X amount of scan tools in there, and they may not have been upgraded in a while, or the subscription fees that are attached to them is an ongoing expense.
Absolutely. There's some, I'm not going to name any names, but there's some companies out there that they sell the scan tool and they make you buy a 3-year subscription to it in order to keep it up to date. And it's all prepaid in advance. But if you're the quote, lucky, unlucky new shop owner, and that just expired, and your technician comes to you with a shop that you've promised out to a customer, and we need to scan it and do something with it, and you don't have the software, then you got to pay for that. And there's you've got not only just scan tool software, but you've got Motor, Mitchell, Identifix, all those different things that you need to subscribe to so that you can look stuff up. If you're doing programming, then you have to go out to GM and buy their software and programming, or pay for it per piece. There's so much stuff around there that you need.
And I'm supposed to have a bookkeeper or an accountant, and I'm supposed to have a profit and loss statement often, and I'm supposed to understand how those things work, what they tell me, how they read.
Absolutely. And so your income statement, your scorecard, or your scorecard for success, right? So your point of sale, assuming you have a great point of sale, will tell you your daily snapshot of how everything is. But your income statement tells the deeper story, because there could be some things that are off or wrong in your point of sale. Also, your income statement's what you turn into the government, right? So whatever's on your income statement is what you have to fess up to or own up to or whatever. We've gotten a couple of clients here lately that didn't have income statements, and we've been working with them for months. We try to get our clients to a 50 to 60% parts margin. And we had one the other day. We looked at his income statement that we haven't had. It's 9%. We're losing money constantly on a daily basis, and we're way below target on our parts margin. But because our point of sale didn't match up with our income statement, nobody ever knew that. We just knew that we didn't have the cash to pay for things.
Wait a minute. Did you say 9%?
9. That's one less than a double-digit 10. That's a 9% parts margin.
What happened? What was going on?
Well, we just got that income statement from the accountants last week. So we're still trying to figure it out. There's a couple things that can happen in that instance. It could be cores not returned. It can be parts that should have been returned that weren't returned.
The income statement will show the investment of parts that you actually own. I got it, that you never returned. I mean, but to drive a 50% down to a 9, what was the point of sale saying?
We're showing almost 60% on the point of sale. So that also tells me that we're not putting costs in the tickets and things like that.
Yeah, systems, processes, and the great discipline that double checks the income statement versus the point of sale system to see if what you think you're making really flows into the profit and loss of the business. When you think about all these areas that you have to work on, sales and gross profit and expense control and profitability. But wait a minute. I love cars. I just want to go work in the bay. Just give me the challenge. I want to fix things. I don't want to worry about this. I want to think about that. I just want to fix things. I want to do busy work. Smart, great work. I love it, but I want to be busy. I don't want to run the business. And more people that I've met in the last 5 years of podcasting, 900 plus episodes, have told me this story over and over again. So why does it keep happening?
One thing is shop owners like that, they think they can do it better than everybody else because they've been wronged or whatever. And they in their head, in the idea, in the initial stages, it can work, right? But once you get a taste of reality and you have to deal with employees, you have to deal with customers, you have to make sure you pay your sales tax and your payroll tax and everything else, that's when the realization comes in, either, oh, I'm just going to deal with it and keep losing money or keep breaking even and have this hobby that's going to ruin or run over my life, or I have to put my business owner pants on, crawl out from underneath the hood of the car and learn all the things that I didn't know.
A good friend, Kevin Eckler, was on the 200th milestone episode for the Town Hall Academy. It was titled A Blessing in Disguise from My Biggest Mistake. And he tells the story of being as low, 6-figure loss of income, a marriage, a home, and all the things, because Kevin took his love of fixing cars, his hobby, his love of racing into a shop and didn't have a clue. And now he's on the greatest soapbox in the world telling the story. He was very emotional when he spoke that story, Town Hall Academy 200. I recommend that anyone who's ready to jump into a business, do it, please. But for all the right reasons, with all the right disciplines, and listen to what Kevin says. It took him in order to recover and come up and out. He I think basically said he wasted 10 years of his life, and it wasn't that he wasted, but it was all the learning that he did. Now he's ready to go into a second store. An incredible story and a great guy, and it just confirms everything that you're saying here.
Absolutely. And I don't want this to be like a cautionary tale, like I'm waving the flag telling people not to get into the industry. By all means, we welcome anybody into the industry with open arms that wants to be a part of it. Just do your due diligence first. Look into it, seek help. Don't be the guy that doesn't ask for help, or the shop owner that doesn't ask for help and just sticks their head in the sand and then finally pulls the head out 10 years later and is like, okay, now I'm finally ready to do something. Think about everything you lost in those 10 years. It doesn't have to be difficult. Not at all.
People have said to me, I had no idea how complicated and difficult running a business like this is. I guess you can own an ice cream shop and it's difficult. I know there's challenges that exist, but when you think of the complicated nature of who you're competing with today, the complexity of the vehicle, the complexity of just human nature and having the right culture, and saying, I've got to be a leader. I don't know what leadership's about. I don't know what I don't know. And being the most humble and admitted that you're not the smartest person in the room makes you a perpetual student. And think about networking and association membership and just joining like an organization like yours and learning. I got to pay taxes. My people have to train. Where am I going to find? I lost a tech. I can't seem to find a replacement. Woe is me. I never thought this would happen.
That's every day. That's like the day in the life of a shop owner right there. That's not even like a week or a month. That's like a daily occurrence. If only it were as easy as selling ice cream, right? But if you have a shop that has 50 different customers in every week, along with technicians and service writers, we talked about marketing and stuff earlier. We didn't even talk about sitting down and spending time every month, every week, every year, developing a marketing plan to know what your budget is when this goes out. If you do postcards, it has to be designed and approved and then mailed so that it hits the mailbox on this date. There's a lot of things that you have to be in charge of, and you can't be working in the business to do that. You have to be working on the business.
Sometimes some people can't do it when they're starting out. They just can't. It's an evolution. But I think to your point that you're trying to say here, Chris, is, okay, so you want to open up a shop from scratch. There's a different track in a store. If you want to buy a going place, you're already deep in something that's already got sales and people and customers. Or, for example, you're the technician who's getting an opportunity to buy into a succession plan. There's so many great stories of internal succession that's going on, Chris. One of the things that I've recently learned a lot is that there are succession consultants helping and requiring ongoing coaching for the successee, the receivee of the succession plan. And that's helping them get on solid ground.
So like when I bought my shop, I was a service writer store manager, and I went to the bank that the owner was already working with. And he's like, okay, well, you're there every day anyway. We filled out the SBA application. It got approved. 9 times out of 10, succession's much easier when done in-house versus somebody that just walks in and is like, hey, I've been your store owner for 25 years and I just sold out to meet Chuck, and I'll be here for 2 more weeks until the end of the year. And then I'm gone to Mexico. Not that can't work, but it works much better if you can have people from within. And a couple of succession plans that we've helped with, the owner set aside cash every year and put it in a bank account for 3-4 years. And then at the end of the 3-4 years, the employees got $100,000 that they can take, put that as a down payment on the business, and just roll through that and just keep moving.
Yeah, there's so many creative ways today. People are finding ways to do it. But if you get an opportunity to be a successee inside the business, as you perform your duties and you only saw one side of how the business runs, your side, there's so much more behind the curtain.
One of the struggles I had is I went from being one of the boys to being the boss and the owner. And that's a difficult transition in and of itself. You've got all these people that you're cutting up, having fun with, and then now they think that it's okay to treat you the same way that it was before. And I'm not saying it's not, but when you have to sit down and let one of those employees go for whatever reason, it makes it extremely difficult. I had fired plenty of people as a store manager, but the first person I had to fire as a store owner, I lost sleep. I made a phone call and got the guy a job somewhere else. And all of that was just BS to make me feel happy, right? That wasn't anything for the employee, but it's a big transition.
You bring up a great point. Number one, it's tough to do. But number two, in today's world, you've got to have a very legal termination. I mean, the whole human resource and compliance side of HR is a completely new nightmare. Now, you can hire to get people to help you to do that right, which is great today. There's HR companies out there willing to not only do your payroll, but to give you every bit of advice to do things right.
Absolutely. So you've got like employee handbooks, job descriptions. One of the things that we just did, we haven't really released it yet, but we have a 2-part firing video that goes through and talks about everything that you need, requirements from the state. And then we actually film like a mock firing and show how that process is and how that process works. And then something that's just come up here recently this year is now we're having to go in and write COVID rules and regulations for how we handle that into employee handbooks. Because the last thing we want to do is have an outbreak that gets traced back to the shop and everybody in your community knows that you're closed for 2 weeks because you gave everybody that came in the virus. So, and it's the HR is an ever evolving thing.
Ever evolving. I love the idea of a mock firing. I can't remember my first firing ever. I can't. Because, I hired so many, I fired so many, I laid off so many. If you've been around business as long as I have, that's just a natural part of a leadership role in a company. And it's something difficult to face for so many.
I kind of grew up in the system and the way, you go to somebody that you want to get rid of and you're like, pick a number between 1 and 10 and they go 7. It's like, okay, you got 7 minutes to get out of my shop. And that was pretty much the process back then. But now you have to document the reasons why you're letting them go. You should take them through the employee handbook and be like, hey, here's, page 42, paragraph 6. You violated that. You were written up for it. And again, we kind of go through that in that video. And, you present the final check, you do your exit, review everything else. It's not like a quick 2-minute deal anymore. It's very complicated. And the other thing is every state, is different in how they want their employee handbooks done, what you can do for pay and everything else.
There's no doubt this was a great discussion on brainstorming on shop ownership. We did it justice to a top of the iceberg. There's so much below the surface that needs to be done. Every one of the topics we covered, we could go for an hour on each of them, and which I think continues to provide why a coach or consultant is so important to have on the team, because one of the things that I believe so strongly in is it becomes an accountability partner for you, because you know you need to get these things done, but as you walk through life as we know it, family and business and friends and commitments, you don't live off of a to-do list and you're not getting things done. That interaction with your coach helps you, I promised Chris I would blank, right?
Exactly. That's why part of the coaching process we go through, we're like, we review the work from the past week. We go over things that we're working on and homework for the next week and keep that cycle moving. And some things takes longer than a week or two. And then there's always the odd issue at the shop that pops up that we have to take care of during the moment.
Well, I look at this as an abridged version of what to think about before you want to either open a shop or buy a shop and or take the hobby that you love. What's the great quote? If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
That's a great thing, unless you're an auto repair shop owner, because you're out there working, doing what you love, and your business goes up in flames, right? So, and it's okay to love your business. You just have to make your business work for you and not you work for your business.
Wow. Thank you so much, Chris Cotton. Appreciate you being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me again.
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier automotive aftermarket podcast. Until next time.